In 1945, as World War II ended, the US government launched a secret program called Operation Paperclip. The goal was simple but controversial: recruit the top scientific minds from Nazi Germany before the Soviet Union could get to them. Over 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians were secretly brought to the United States to work for the military and NASA. The conspiracy lay in how the government bypassed its own laws. President Truman had explicitly ordered that no committed Nazis or those who had participated in war crimes should be recruited. However, the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency JIOA realised that the most brilliant scientists were often high-ranking members of the Nazi Party or the SS. To get around the president's order, intelligence officers began cleansing the scientists' records. They literally used paperclips to attach new, fabricated biographies to the scientists' files, hence the name Operation Paperclip. They removed references to their Nazi past, their use of slave labour, and their involvement in human experimentation. The most famous recruit was Wernher von Braun, the mastermind behind the V-2 rocket that terrorised London. In Germany, his rockets were built using slave labour from the Mittelbau-Dora concentration camp, where thousands died. In America, he was rebranded as a hero of the space race and eventually became the director of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. Another recruit was Hubertus Strughold. Known as the father of space medicine, he conducted horrific experiments on prisoners at Dachau, including freezing them to death to see how long a pilot could survive in cold water. In the US, he was honoured with awards, and a library was even named after him at the School of Aerospace Medicine. For decades, the full extent of the program was kept from the American public. People were told these scientists were anti-Nazi or were forced to work for Hitler. It wasn't until the 1970s and 80s, through investigative journalism and declassified documents, that the truth about their dark pasts and the government's systematic cover-up began to surface. The theory that the US government had protected and employed war criminals turned out to be an undeniable fact. Critics argue that this moral compromise laid the foundation for the military-industrial complex, and that the scientific advancements of the moon landing were built on a foundation of ethical horror that was deliberately erased. Operation Paperclip remains a haunting example of the ends justifying the means. It proved that the government was willing to rewrite history and harbour enemies if it meant gaining a technological edge in the Cold War. The very men who built the weapons for the Third Reich ended up building the rockets that took humanity to the stars.